Humans are such ridiculous creatures, I said, adjusting my ocular membrane to better focus on the holographic display. I mean, look at them. No protective exoskeleton, no natural weapons. They can't even regulate their body temperature without artificial coverings. How did these walking meat sacks ever become a threat? Fleet Commander Trasvor clicked his mandibles in what our species considers laughter. Sentinel Kaldax. Your assessment lacks historical perspective. That's precisely why they are dangerous. They compensate through artificial means. Their lack of natural advantages force them to become creative. I flicked my tertiary appendage, dismissively. The Grand Vexillian fleet had conquered 17 star systems before encountering these so-called humans. Our species had evolved in the methane seas of Vexil Prime, developing naturally armored bodies and a perfect societal structure based on absolute logic and hierarchy. What could we possibly fear from these soft, emotional bipeds? Sir, with respect, I have studied their history. They spent most of their planetary existence fighting each other over invisible territorial lines and beliefs in non-existent higher beings. They are primitive. Trasvor's color-shifting skin darkened to a deep purple, our equivalent of a serious frown. That fighting is exactly what concerns me. No other species we have encountered has spent so much time perfecting the art of killing their own kind. The hologram shifted to display Earth's solar system. Our invasion fleet, 500 warships strong, hovered at the edge, preparing for the final assault. We had already decimated their orbital defenses and established dominance over their lunar colony. Victory was inevitable. The Council of Elders wants this planet intact. Trasvor continued. Their water-rich environment is perfect for colonization once we introduce our atmospheric converters. The humans themselves will serve adequately in the labor pools. The usual procedure, then, I noted, bringing up the tactical display, targeted strikes on major military installations, followed by an alarm blared, cutting off my assessment. The tactical officer, Sub-Commander Zilnax, frantically manipulated the control interface with her 4 upper limbs. Sir, energy spike detected from the planet's surface. Nothing in our database matches the signature. Trasvor moved with surprising speed for his age, gliding across the command deck. Location? Multiple points of origin. Zilnax replied, her voice vibrating with stress pheromones, primarily concentrated in regions the humans designate as North America, Eastern Europe, and East Asia. I joined them at the tactical station, curiosity overriding my dismissive attitude. The energy readings were indeed bizarre, pulsing, almost organic in nature, yet clearly artificial. Intercepted communications, sir, announced Communications Officer Venlox. The humans are broadcasting openly, not even attempting encryption. Audio and visual on all frequencies. Display, ordered Trasvor. The main screen flickered, and a human female appeared. Her outer covering was a formal military uniform adorned with colorful status indicators. Her facial features were arranged in what our xenopsychologists had identified as grim determination. To all Vexillian forces, she began, her voice translated through our systems. This is Admiral Teresa Blackburn of the United Earth Defense Force. Your unprovoked aggression against humanity has triggered our final defensive protocol. You were warned. Trasvor's skin rippled with bands of yellow and red anxiety and confusion. What final protocol? Our intelligence indicated their defensive capabilities were exhausted. Admiral Blackburn continued as if hearing our commander's question. For the record, we attempted diplomacy. We sent 17 separate communications requesting peaceful dialogue before your first attack. You responded by destroying our Mars colony and killing 12,000 civilians. I felt an unfamiliar sensation in my digestive tract, something akin to what humans might call guilt. It was true. We had dismissed their communication attempts as irrelevant. The Council of Elders had determined that pre-conquest negotiations were inefficient. Humanity has existed on a death world. Blackburn explained, her voice taking on an almost conversational tone. Earth tried to kill us every day of our evolution. Predators, disease, natural disasters. We survived it all. But more importantly, we survived each other. For thousands of years, we were our own worst enemies, constantly developing better ways to kill. Did you really think we wouldn't be prepared for threats from beyond our world? The tactical display suddenly erupted with new alerts. Zilnax made a high-pitched keening sound, a breach of protocol, but understandable given the readings. Sir, detecting massive biological signature changes across human population centers. Their biochemistry is altering at the cellular level. Impossible. I stated flatly. No species can voluntarily change its biological composition. Sentinel Coldax. Admiral Blackburn said, and a cold sensation flooded my nervous system. How did she know my name? We weren't broadcasting. You are wrong. Welcome to the Apex Predator Protocol. The screen split to show footage from the planet's surface. Humans everywhere were changing. Their skin hardened into what appeared to be natural armor plating. Bone structures extended into razor-sharp protrusions at joints and extremities. Muscle mass increased exponentially. What you are witnessing, Blackburn continued, her own transformation beginning on screen, her skin darkening to a metallic sheen, her eyes shifting to vertical pupils like those of Earth's most efficient predators, is the result of Project Genesis. For the past century, every human on Earth has carried dormant genetic modifications, passed down through generations, modifications that could be activated simultaneously when needed. Trasvor turned to Science Officer Mal Gore. Explain. Mal Gore's appendages trembled as she analyzed the incoming data. It appears to be engineered evolution, sir. They have somehow compressed millions of years of potential evolutionary adaptations into an instant metamorphosis. They are becoming perfect biological weapons. Our scientists determined that we could never predict what form alien life might take, Blackburn explained, her voice deeper now, resonant with new vocal structures. So, instead of preparing for specific threats, we prepared to become the ultimate threat. Every human is now transforming into what your species would consider an apex predator, specifically calibrated to hunt Vexillians. How is this possible? I whispered. How could they know our biological weaknesses? We only made contact 3 orbital cycles ago. The crashed scout ship, Trasvor said, his skin now ashen gray, the color of dread. From the previous scouting mission 200 cycles ago, we thought it was destroyed with all hands. Precisely, Blackburn confirmed with a predatory smile that revealed newly elongated teeth. We recovered that ship and its crew. The lone survivor was quite helpful once we figured out how to communicate. We have had 2 centuries to study Vexillian biology, prepare our countermeasures, and build the genetic keys into our population. We just needed the right circumstances to turn the key. On the secondary displays, we could see humans taking actual flight using newly formed wing-like structures that shouldn't have been aerodynamically possible. Others demonstrated strength sufficient to tear apart metallic structures with their bare hands. Some appeared to phase through solid matter. This can't be real, I said. These abilities defy physical laws. Your understanding of physical laws is incomplete, Blackburn replied. Her transformation was now complete. She looked like something from our species' ancient mythology. The demons our ancestors believed lurked in the deepest trenches of our home world's oceans. We have incorporated quantum principles into our genetic restructuring. What you consider impossible is merely improbable until you understand the mathematics. Fleet Commander Trasvor seemed to recover his composure. We still possess orbital superiority. Your transformations, however impressive, cannot reach our fleet. We can bombard your world from space. For the first time, Blackburn laughed. The sound sent vibrations of terror through my central nervous system. That's the best part, Commander. We are not confined to Earth anymore. The ship rocked violently. Alarm systems screamed across the command deck. Multiple hull breaches. Zilnak shouted, "Something is cutting through our defenses from the outside." Impossible, Trasvor bellowed. Our hull is composed of molecular bonded tritanium. Nothing. The command deck door disintegrated. Not exploded, disintegrated. The particles floating harmlessly in the air. Through the opening stepped a transformed human, male based on the general morphology, but now bearing chitinous armor eerily similar to our own evolutionary adaptations, yet more efficient in design. His fingers terminated in claws that glowed with energy that my sensors couldn't identify. "Hello," the human said in perfect Vexillian speech impossible for human vocal cords. "I'm Captain Alexander Pierce. I believe you know a friend of mine, Admiral Blackburn. How did you board our vessel?" Trasvor demanded. "How did you penetrate our shields?" Pierce tilted his head, a gesture that seemed almost sympathetic. "We didn't need to. We were already here." "What?" I gasped. "Infiltration teams," Pierce explained casually. examining his lethal-looking claws as if they were a mild curiosity. "We put humans on every one of your ships before you even reached our solar system. Sleeper agents with suppressed genetic markers. When the Apex Predator Protocol activated, so did they. The implications hit me like a gravitational shockwave." "You..." "Yes," Pierce nodded. "Look around you." To my horror, 3 members of our own crew began to change. Their Vexillian forms shimmered like defective holograms, revealing human forms beneath humans now undergoing the same terrifying transformation as the others. "Shape-shifting technology," Pierce explained. "Temporary biological camouflage. Useful for infiltration purposes. Of course, we prefer our natural forms for combat." One of the revealed infiltrators, formerly our navigation officer, spoke up. "All ships in the fleet have been compromised, Captain. Transformation is complete in approximately 78% of our agents." "Excellent, Lieutenant Morgan," Pierce replied. "Proceed with Phase 2. Security forces finally responded, pouring into the command deck with plasma rifles charged. They fired without hesitation. The energy bolts passed harmlessly through Pierce, who seemed to shift partially out of normal space-time as they struck. "Phase displacement," he explained, almost apologetically. "Another useful adaptation. Your weapons operate in standard space-time. Parts of me currently don't." With blinding speed, Pierce moved through the security team. He didn't seem to attack so much as touch each guard briefly. Where his claws made contact, Vexillian armor and flesh simply unmade themselves, breaking down into component atoms. In 6 seconds, 12 elite guards were reduced to drifting particles. "Molecular decoupling," Pierce said to the horrified command crew. "We can selectively disrupt the atomic bonds holding matter together. Efficient, wouldn't you agree?" Fleet Commander Trasvor, to his credit, maintained his dignity. "What do you want, human? If this demonstration is meant to force our surrender, then state your terms." Pierce's expression shifted to something almost regretful. "I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation, Commander. This isn't a negotiation. The Apex Predator Protocol isn't just a defensive transformation, it's a fundamental shift in humanity's approach to existential threats." "Meaning?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Meaning that we have made a species-wide decision," Pierce said. "Any civilization technologically advanced enough to reach Earth, yet morally primitive enough to attempt conquest rather than peaceful contact, represents an unacceptable future risk. The protocol isn't just about stopping your current invasion, it's about ensuring you never pose a threat again." Admiral Blackburn's voice came through the still-active communication channel. "The Vexillian Empire has conquered 17 systems before ours, eliminating or enslaving the native species. Your Council of Elders has authorized the same for Earth. Your culture, your very evolutionary path has led you to view other sentient beings as resources to be exploited. We cannot allow such a philosophy to exist among the stars." A cold realization washed over me. "You are planning to exterminate our entire species." Pierce shook his head. "Not exterminate. Contain and reform. Your homeworld will be quarantined, your conquered territories liberated, your technology confiscated, and your society will be given the opportunity to evolve beyond its current limitations." "You have no right," Trasvor bellowed. "Rights?" Pierce raised what would have been an eyebrow before his transformation. "Interesting concept, coming from a species that denied the rights of 17 others. But we are not acting on authority. We are acting on necessity." The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. "That would be your engine core being reconfigured," Pierce mentioned casually. "We are converting your fleet into transport vessels to return your invasion forces to your homeworld." Tactical displays around the command deck showed the impossible. Our mighty warships were changing configuration, weapons systems disintegrating while propulsion systems expanded. And on every ship, transformed humans were taking control. "Your civilization will survive, Commander," Pierce assured Trasvor, "but your empire ends today." I found my voice despite the terror gripping my 3 hearts. "You said reform. How can you possibly hope to change an entire species' culture?" For the first time, Pierce smiled, revealing teeth that had adapted into something horrifyingly efficient for tearing through Vexillian exoskeletons. "That's Phase 3 of the protocol. But I think we will save that revelation for when we reach your homeworld." Suddenly, every transformed human on the command deck froze, their heads tilting slightly as if listening to something beyond our perceptual range. Well, Pierce said after a moment. This is unexpected. It seems your species had one surprise left for us. What do you mean? Trasvor demanded. A secondary fleet, Pierce replied, coming in from the outer system, much larger than this one. Your council apparently had more resources than our intelligence suggested. For a moment, hope flared in my chest. The reserve armada, 5 times the size of our invasion force, held in reserve specifically for unexpected contingencies. Pierce noticed my reaction. Don't get too excited, Sentinel Caldex. This just means we need to accelerate our timeline. He tapped a sequence of patterns against his forearm, which now contained what appeared to be a built-in communication device within his transformed flesh. Admiral Blackburn, we have a complication. Requesting full protocol activation, Phase 4. Blackburn's voice responded immediately. Confirmed, Captain. Phase 4 authorization granted. May the stars witness what follows. Pierce turned to us, his expression almost sorrowful. I'd recommend you all brace yourselves. What comes next will be disorienting. What is Phase 4? I asked, fear overriding protocol. The final evolution, Pierce said simply. The one we hoped wouldn't be necessary. Through the command deck's observation portal, I watched as the Earth itself began to glow with an energy signature unlike anything in our scientific records. The planet's very atmosphere seemed to ignite with patterns of light that formed impossible geometries. What are you doing to your world? Trasvor gasped. Not to it, Pierce corrected. With it, Earth isn't just our home, Commander. It's our partner, our first teacher in survival, and now, our greatest weapon. The last thing I remember before consciousness failed me was the sight of Earth itself beginning to move not in its orbital path, but as if the entire planet had become a vessel under conscious control. Phase 4 had begun, and with it, the true meaning of the Apex Predator Protocol was about to be revealed. I regained consciousness to the sound of alarms I didn't recognize. My ocular membrane fluttered open, struggling to focus in the strange blue-tinted light that now filled the command deck. The gravity felt wrong, lighter, almost buoyant. He's awake, said a voice I recognized as Captain Pierce. Good timing, Sentinel Caldex. You wouldn't want to miss this. I pushed myself upright, my exoskeleton creaking from the strain. The command deck was still intact, but utterly transformed. The Vexillian control interfaces had been replaced with pulsing, organic-looking panels that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured. Fleet Commander Trasvor sat rigidly in what remained of his command chair, his skin a pale, sickly yellow, the color of utter defeat. What happened? I managed to ask. Phase 4, Pierce replied simply, gesturing toward the observation portal. I turned and immediately felt my 3 hearts skip in unison. Where Earth had been, there was now something else. The planet remained, but encased in what appeared to be a lattice of energy, geometric patterns of light that pulsed in complex rhythms, and it was moving. Not in its usual orbital path, but directly toward us. That's impossible, I whispered. No technology can move an entire planet. Not technology, Pierce corrected. Biology, evolution. The final stage of the Apex Predator Protocol. A new figure entered the command deck. Another transformed human, this one with skin that rippled with patterns that seemed to bend light around them. Unlike Pierce's chitinous armor adaptations, this human had developed something more fluid, almost liquid in appearance. Captain, the reserve armada has detected us. They are adjusting course to intercept, the newcomer reported. Thank you, Lieutenant Yasmin. Pierce nodded. Their response time is better than expected. Status of Earth's transformation, 94% complete. The planetary consciousness has fully integrated with the collective. I stared at them, struggling to process what I was hearing. Planetary consciousness? Collective? What are you talking about? Lieutenant Yasmin turned to me, her eyes now multifaceted like those of Earth's insects, but glowing with inner light. The Apex Predator Protocol isn't just about individual human transformation. Sentinel. It's a species-wide evolution event, linking all of humanity into a singular coordinated organism. And in Phase 4 that connection extends to Earth itself. Fleet Commander Trasvor finally spoke, his voice hollow. You have turned your planet into a weapon. Not exactly, Pierce said almost conversationally. We have awakened it. Earth has always been alive in its way. Ancient humans intuited this, called it Gaia Terra Mater, and dozens of other names. What we have done is establish a symbiotic link between transformed humanity and the living systems of our world. The tactical display, now a floating three-dimensional projection of pure light, showed the Vexillian Reserve Armada advancing over 2,000 warships, including 5 planet-killer dreadnoughts. They are launching long-range antimatter missiles, Lieutenant Yasmin reported calmly. Time to impact, 47 seconds. Pierce seemed completely unconcerned. Admiral Blackburn, are you monitoring? A voice responded seemingly from the air itself. Confirmed, Captain. All evacuations complete. No humans remain on planetary surface, initiating final metamorphosis. I watched in disbelief as the Earth's energy lattice suddenly contracted, compressing around the planet like a fist closing. The oceans, visible even from this distance, began to glow with bioluminescence. Mountain ranges shifted position. Continental plates moved, not with the slow inevitability of geological time, but with purpose and coordination. Watch closely, Pierce advised me. No Vexillian has ever seen this before. No one has. The antimatter missiles streaked toward Earth, their contrails visible as bright lines against the blackness of space. But before they could impact, something extraordinary happened. The planet's atmosphere reached out. There's no other way to describe it. Tendrils of atmosphere extended like pseudopods, intercepting the missiles and somehow absorbing their energy without detonation. Conversion complete, Lieutenant Yasmin announced. Antimatter successfully harvested and redirected to the planetary core. They are feeding off our weapons, Trasvor said, horrified. Of course, Pierce nodded. The Apex Predator protocol is all about adaptation and efficiency. Why waste perfectly good antimatter? The Earth continued its approach toward our fleet, which now seemed pathetically small in comparison. Behind us, the Reserve Armada adjusted formation, preparing for full engagement. Admiral, Pierce called out, the secondary fleet is deploying. Request permission to demonstrate our capabilities before they commit to a full attack. Granted, came Blackburn's disembodied voice. Select a target of appropriate significance. Pierce studied the tactical display, then pointed to a massive dreadnought at the center of the Reserve Armada. The Eternal Dominance, flagship of Supreme War Leader Zanvor himself. That should make our point clear. Lieutenant Yasmin nodded and made a simple gesture with her transformed hand. In response, Earth itself seemed to shudder. A portion of the energy lattice surrounding the planet concentrated, forming what looked like a lens focused on the distant flagship. What are you doing? I asked, a growing sense of dread overwhelming my professional curiosity. Demonstrating why the Apex Predator protocol is called humanity's final weapon, Pierce replied. Though weapon is a limited term for what we have become. The energy lens pulsed once, and a beam of coherent light unlike any weapon I'd ever seen lanced across space. It reached the Eternal Dominance in less than a second, despite the vast distance. What happened next defied explanation. The flagship didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply changed. The beam touched it, and the massive dreadnought began to reconfigure itself. Metal flowed like liquid. Energy systems rewired themselves, and the 12,000 Vexillian crew members aboard experienced their own transformation. Conversion successful, Lieutenant Yasmin reported. Eternal Dominance and crew now operating under protocol parameters. What have you done to them? Trasvor demanded, rising from his chair only to be gently but firmly pushed back by Pierce. We have shared our evolution, Pierce explained. The beam contains nanobiological agents programmed with the same genetic keys that triggered our own transformation. We have given your people a gift, the ability to evolve beyond their current limitations. On the tactical display we could see the Eternal Dominance turning its weapons on the rest of the Reserve Armada, but instead of firing it emitted the same transformation beam, spreading the change to other ships. It's a cascade effect. I realized, both horrified and fascinated. You are rewriting our entire species. Only those who chose war, Pierce corrected. This isn't genocide, Sentinel. It's forced evolution. Your people will survive, but the Vexillian Empire as you knew it is over. A new alert sounded, and Lieutenant Yasmin's expression showed genuine surprise, the first real emotion I'd seen from the transformed humans. Captain, we are detecting a transmission from Vexil Prime. The Council of Elders is requesting direct communication. Pierce raised an eyebrow. That was faster than expected. They must have more advanced quantum entanglement technology than our intelligence suggested. Put them through. The command deck's atmosphere shimmered, and a holographic projection formed not the crude approximation our technology produced, but a perfect three-dimensional representation of the Council of Elders chamber on our homeworld. The 9 elders, their exoskeletons bearing the ceremonial scarifications of their station, regarded us with what passed for shock among our kind. "What abomination have you unleashed?" demanded Elder Prime Kol Savex, her voice vibrating with barely controlled rage. I felt a chill. Kol Savex was from my own genetic lineage, a distant ancestor still alive due to our species' lengthy lifespan. Admiral Blackburn's form materialized on the command deck beside Pierce, her transformation even more advanced than when I'd seen her last. Her skin now resembled flowing metal, and her eyes held galaxies. "Not an abomination, Elder Prime," Blackburn replied. "Evolution, adaptation, survival, concepts your species should understand well. You cannot possibly control what you have created," another Elder Zaltoth, Minister of Scientific Progress, interjected. "The energies you are manipulating will destabilize your entire solar system." "That might be true," Blackburn acknowledged, "if we were merely manipulating energy. But the Apex Predator Protocol goes beyond energy manipulation. We have fundamentally altered the relationship between consciousness and matter." The display shifted to show the ongoing transformation of the reserve armada. Ship after ship was being converted, their crews transformed into something new, neither human nor Vexillian, but a synthesis of both. "The process is painless," Pierce added almost kindly. "Your people are not suffering, they are awakening to new possibilities." Elder Prime Kol Savex's color shifted to deep crimson fury beyond measure. "This is worse than genocide. You are erasing what makes us Vexillian." "No," Blackburn corrected firmly. "We are adding to what you are, your cultural identity, your history, your knowledge, all preserved, but your capacity for conquest, your biological drive toward dominance, hierarchies, your inability to recognize the sentience of other species, those limitations are being removed." I found myself speaking without permission, a shocking breach of protocol. "You are changing our fundamental nature. Our evolutionary path led us to become what we are for a reason." "Evolution isn't a straight line, Sentinel Kaldax," Lieutenant Yasmin said, turning to me. "It's responsive to environmental pressures. Your species evolved in isolation, competing only with other life forms on your homeworld. But the galaxy is filled with sentient life. The environmental pressure has changed, and now your evolution must change with it." A new figure stepped forward from behind the Council of Elders, a Vexillian the Servits. Didn't recognize, but something about them was wrong. Their exoskeleton had the same faint metallic sheen that characterized the transformed human. "The lieutenant speaks truth," the strange Vexillian said. "I can attest to this personally." Elder Prime Kol Savex turned in shock. "Commander Jax Vin, what have they done to you?" "Open my mind, Elder Prime," Jax Vin replied. "I was captured during the initial assault on the human lunar colony. They subjected me to their transformation process. I resisted at first, but once the change began." They paused, their color shifting to a serene blue I'd never seen in our species before. "I understood. The Apex Predator Protocol doesn't destroy, it elevates." "Traitor," hissed Elder Kolsevex. "No," Jax Vin shook their head, a very human gesture. "Evolutionary pioneer. The future of our species stands before you, Elder Prime. The question is whether the rest of our people will join willingly or through forced adaptation." Admiral Blackburn stepped forward. "We prefer willing participation. Forced evolution works, but voluntary acceptance creates a more harmonious result. The choice is yours, Council of Elders. Order your remaining forces to stand down and accept the transformation, or watch as we convert them, ship by ship." The tactical display showed that over half the reserve armada had already been transformed. The process was accelerating as each converted ship began transforming others. Elder Prime Kol Savex conferred briefly with the other elders, their communication glands pulsing with pheromonal exchanges too complex for the humans to detect. Finally, she turned back to us. "You'll leave us no choice," she conceded, her color now a muted gray of resignation. "We will order all forces to stand down." "A wise decision," Blackburn nodded. "The transformation will proceed more smoothly with cooperation." "What of our empire?" asked Elder Zaltoth. "The 17 systems we have conquered. They will be liberated," Pierce stated firmly, "but not abandoned. The transformed Vexillians will work with those species to repair the damage done, and eventually they too will be offered the opportunity to join the protocol if they choose. I looked at Fleet Commander Trezvor, expecting to see rage or despair. Instead, his color had shifted to something I'd never observed in our species of pulsing indigo that seemed to contain flecks of light. "Commander," I questioned cautiously. "I can feel it beginning." "Sentinel Coldax," he said quietly. "The transformation. It's not what I expected. There's a vastness to consciousness I never imagined." I stepped back involuntarily. "How? You weren't exposed to their beam." Lieutenant Yasmin gave what might have been a sympathetic look. "The process isn't just physical, Sentinel. It spreads through quantum entanglement at the cellular level. Once a critical mass of a species is transformed, the change becomes exponential." "You are saying our entire species will transform? Even those who never encounter humans directly?" The implications were staggering. "Yes," Admiral Blackburn confirmed. "Though the process will be gradual for those at greater distances, your homeworld will experience the full change within one standard solar cycle." The holographic connection to the council chamber suddenly distorted. Elder Prime Kol Savex's form flickered as she clutched at her thorax. "It's beginning here too," she gasped, her exoskeleton already showing the first signs of transformation, a subtle metallic sheen spreading across its surface.
What? What will we become?"
"Something more than you were," Pierce answered. "Something more than we were, too. The Apex Predator Protocol isn't just about humans becoming the ultimate predators, it's about transcending the very concept of predator and prey." As if to demonstrate his point, Pierce's form began to shift again. The chitinous armor receded, replaced by something less overtly threatening but somehow more profound, a form that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time, edges blurring into possibilities. "The first stage of transformation is defensive," he explained. "Weapons, armor, tactical adaptations. But the final stage is integrative. We become capable of true empathy across species boundaries, true understanding." I felt a tingling sensation beginning at the extremities of my limbs. Looking down, I saw my own exoskeleton beginning to shimmer with the telltale signs of transformation. "This is involuntary," I protested, though without the panic I would have expected. Something about the process was oddly calming. "Yes and no," Admiral Blackburn said. "Your conscious mind cannot stop it, but at a deeper level, your species has always been ready for this evolution. The Vexillian drive to conquer was never your true nature. It was a temporary adaptation that has outlived its usefulness." The holographic connection to Vexil Prime stabilized, showing the council chamber in chaos as the transformation spread through the elders and their attendants. But it wasn't violent chaos. It was more like the disorder of a caterpillar's transition to butterfly, cells reorganizing towards something new. "What happens now?" Fleet Commander Trezvor asked, his voice changing as his vocal structures began to transform. "To our civilization? To your—" "Now we truly begin," Blackburn said, her form shifting further, becoming something that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "The Apex Predator Protocol was never meant to be merely a defensive weapon. It's the next stage in conscious evolution, a bridge between what life has been in this galaxy and what it can become." Earth continued its approach, but now I could see it differently. It wasn't just a planet weaponized, it was a living entity awakened, partnered with its human children in a symbiotic relationship unlike anything my species had imagined possible. The tactical display showed the transformation spreading through the entire Vexillian fleet, both our invasion force and the reserve armada. But it didn't stop there. Tendrils of the same energy that encased Earth were extending outward, creating a network that linked the transformed ships together. "You are building something," I realized, the tingling of my transformation reaching my central nervous system, bringing with it flashes of understanding beyond my previous capacity. "Not destroying, building." "Yes," Pierce nodded approvingly. "The collective. A network of transformed consciousness spanning species boundaries. Earth is merely the first planetary consciousness to awaken and join. There will be others." Lieutenant Yasmin approached me, her transformed hand extended. "Your perspective will be valuable, Sentinel Coldax. Few Vexillians understood the flaws in your empire as clearly as you did, even if you couldn't articulate that understanding until now." I found myself reaching out, taking her hand without fear. The moment our touch connected, a flood of awareness poured through me, not just human knowledge, but something far greater. I could feel the connections forming, my consciousness expanding to touch others human, Vexillian, and even the vast, ancient awareness that was Earth itself. "This is what you planned all along," I gasped as the revelation hit me. "The invasion wasn't a threat to you. It was an opportunity." Admiral Blackburn smiled, a genuine expression of joy, not the predatory grin from earlier. "We needed a catalyst to activate the final phase. Your invasion provided perfect conditions. We could have triggered the protocol decades ago, but unilateral evolution would have been problematic. We needed partners. Enemies transformed to allies," I murmured, understanding at last. "Not just allies," Pierce corrected gently. "Family. Different branches of the same evolutionary tree finally reconnecting." The command deck shimmered as more humans appeared, transformed beyond what I had seen before, their forms suggesting possibilities I couldn't have comprehended hours earlier. "The planetary consciousness is ready," announced one of them, a female with skin like the night sky, stars moving beneath her surface. "The network can now extend beyond this solar system." Admiral Blackburn nodded. "Begin the expansion. Priority to the 17 conquered systems. Their species have waited long enough for liberation." I felt my transformation accelerating, my consciousness expanding with each moment. The fear was gone, replaced by wonder. I could sense the others around me, Trasver, Yasmin, Pierce, Blackburn, not as separate entities, but as connected nodes in an ever-growing network of awareness. "What do you call this?" I asked, gesturing to my changing form, to the transformed Earth, to all of it. Not just the Apex Predator Protocol. That was only the beginning. "We call it the Great Synthesis," Blackburn replied, "the joining of all conscious life into a harmonious whole while preserving the unique perspectives that make each species valuable." Through my expanding awareness, I could sense the transformations spreading across Vexil Prime, through our colonies, and outward to the conquered worlds. Not erasing differences but enhancing them, bringing them into a greater context of shared understanding. "And what of those who resist?" I asked, thinking of traditionalists who would fight change even as it overtook them. "Resistance is based on fear of loss," Pierce explained. "Once the transformation begins, that fear fades as they realize nothing valuable is being lost, only limitations removed. We have yet to encounter a transformed individual who wished to return to their previous state." I believed him. My own transformation was nearly complete, and I could feel the truth of his words in the vastness of my new awareness. The Vexillian Empire had sought dominion over other species because we could not truly comprehend them, could not feel their suffering or recognize their right to self-determination. Those limitations were falling away with each passing moment. "The Reserve Armada transformation is complete," Lieutenant Yasmin reported. "All ships now integrated into the collective. The network has established connections with all 17 conquered systems." On the tactical display, though, display seems too limited a word for the multidimensional representation now floating before us. I could see the network expanding, consciousness flowing along quantum pathways between stars. Earth pulsed at the center. The first awakened planetary mind, but not the last. "There's one more thing you should know, Sentinel Coldax," Admiral Blackburn said, her voice resonating on multiple levels of awareness simultaneously, "about why we call this the final weapon." "Because after this, weapons become obsolete," I replied, the knowledge flowing into me through the network. "Conflict between connected consciousness is impossible, self-contradictory." "Precisely," she nodded. "The species that attacked us ceased to exist the moment the protocol activated. Not because we destroyed them, but because we helped them evolve beyond the limitations that made them aggressors." Fleet Commander Trasvor, his transformation now as complete as mine, laughed, a sound I had never heard from him before. "The greatest military victory in history achieved without a single death. Our strategists never considered this possibility." "That was their limitation," Pierce said. "They could only imagine victory through destruction. We imagined it through transformation." Through the observation portal, Earth hung suspended in space, no longer just a planet, but a living node in a growing network of consciousness. Around it, the transformed fleets arranged themselves in a pattern that seemed random at first glance, but revealed profound mathematical harmony when perceived through my new awareness. "The Great Synthesis has begun," Admiral Blackburn announced, her form now almost pure energy. human only in the broadest sense. And with it, the true purpose of conscious life in this galaxy. Which is? I asked, though I could already sense the answer forming in my expanded mind. To know itself, she replied simply. All of it, through every perspective, every experience, every unique consciousness. Not uniform but unified. Not identical but harmonious. As the transformation completed its work throughout my being, I felt the last vestiges of my old self limited, fearful, hierarchical dissolve into something greater. Not gone, but integrated into a more complete whole. The apex predator protocol had indeed created the ultimate predator, one that hunted not flesh, but limitation itself. One that consumed not life, but the barriers between lives. And as my consciousness expanded to join fully with the collective, I understood at last the true meaning of humanity's final weapon. It wasn't a weapon at all, but a gift offered first to those who came as conquerors, but ultimately meant for all conscious life among the stars. The greatest predator had become the greatest protector, and somewhere in the vastness of our shared awareness, I could feel the ancient consciousness of Earth itself, satisfied that its children had finally learned the lesson it had been teaching them since they first crawled from its primordial seas. True apex predators don't just survive, they ensure that everything around them survives as well, because in the greatest ecosystem of all the cosmos itself, everything is connected. Everything is